Today, we're going to talk about a story, a really deep, primal story. It's about the invisible architecture that holds us all together and the incredible force that can shake us right down to our very core.
Everything, and I mean everything, starts right here. Just think about that for a second. Before you had a name, before you had a body, before you were a you, there was just a pulse, a tremor. This isn't just pretty poetry, you know. This is the start of an origin story that, believe it or not, lives inside every single one of us.
So, to really get a handle on the force we're exploring today, we've got to go way back, all the way back to the very beginning, to that first echo in existence.
So the myth goes like this. There were two ancient forces, Ion, who was time, and Anake, who was inevitability. At one point, they were totally whole, a complete existence. But then, something happened. They were torn apart. And that separation, it created the very first crack in the universe. And right there, in that fractured breath, that's where our story begins.
So this great cosmic separation, it left behind a memory, a kind of pulse that started to just wander through the cosmos. And it was looking for something. It was looking for a home. And that home, well, you guess it, it's us. This pulse found its way out of the abstract and into our physical world, right into our very bones. It moves through us like a pressure, a memory of that very first crack.
Okay, so how does this huge cosmic myth actually connect to us right here, right now? Well, that ancient story isn't just floating out there in the stars. It's actually the framework that we're built on. It's the skeleton within.
So, think about this. What if our skeletons are more than just bones? What if they're the echo of that first cosmic myth? The idea here is that our skeletal system is the very framework that holds our deepest stories, our beliefs, our true creative nature. It's literally the architecture of our being.
And this is where we get to the heart of it all. Because held within that skeletal system, there's this powerful principle, this archetype that's all about transformation. It's a true alchemical force.
Now, when you hear the word alchemy, you're probably thinking of old wizards turning lead into gold, right? But that's not what we're talking about here. Not really. We're talking about a deep, internal transformation. It's the art of taking all the stuff that's in your shadow, the pain, the ruin, the parts of yourself you try to hide, and turning it into light, into your own kind of gold.
So, what's the force that actually does this transformation? It has a name. It's called the bone shaker. It's the archetype that comes in and literally rattles our bones. It shakes loose all the parts of us that have to be seen so they can finally be changed. It's the engine of our evolution.
And just to give you a little context, this isn't happening in a vacuum. The bone shaker is part of a bigger system. You can see it's linked to hematite, the element of fire, and even has a cosmic origin. But look, we're not going to get bogged down in the details. What really, truly matters is what this force does in our lives.
And you know, the best way to really get what this is all about is through a story, a really intense one that shows this whole thing in action. This is the moment of impact.
Okay, so picture this. It starts with chaos, a car crash. You wake up and you're screaming, but you don't even know why. Is it the pain, the shock? The whole world is just impact and confusion. And then in the middle of all that chaos, you get this weirdly clear moment. The first thought isn't, "Oh my God, am I okay?" or "My legs are crushed." Nope, it's something else entirely.
Instead, you're focused on the complete and utter aloneness of it all. Middle of the night, no other cars, no people. It's just you, and the sound of your own body trying to figure out what the hell just happened.
And this is where it gets really deep. It's not just about the physical pain anymore. It's this immense pressure inside you, an ache you can't even put a name to. And it's so overwhelming you just want it to end. Not just the situation, but the feeling itself. You want out. Okay, that moment right there, that desire for an end, that is the crucible of alchemy. So let's break down what's really going on in this whole ruined gold process.
So in these moments, you're at a crossroads, really. You have two choices. You can go the way of fracture. That's where you fight it. You hang on for dear life to who you used to be, and this whole thing feels like a terrifying threat. Or you can choose cohesion. This is the path of letting go. You just let the old you break, trusting that you'll come back together, but aligned with something more true than just habit. And here's the thing. This isn't a choice you make with your head. You can't just reason your way through it.
It's something you feel, like deep in your bones. It's a full-body experience, a shaking that goes all the way down.
And then it stops. The shaking is over. And in that quiet, after the storm, you have this incredibly clear thought. I'm not the same person who was in that car. Something fundamental has shifted. You are not who you were before you crawled into that wreckage.
And that right there, that is alchemy. That's the bone shaker at work. It's about that one critical moment. Terrifying? Yeah, but also freeing. When the old you finally cracks, just enough to let the new you take its first breath.
So, I want to leave you with this to think about. We've all had our own moments of impact, right? Our own personal wreckage. And the real story isn't about the crash. It's about what happens next. So ask yourself, what happens when the shaking stops and that new version of you takes its first breath?